Mumbai Hematology Group. It's an honor and privilege for me to have another interesting episode of artificial intelligence in the field of hematology, and I look forward to learning myself. All this has been possible due to untiring, unwavering, and complete dedication and perseverance of the gentleman whom we see on the screen, Professor Dr. M.B. Agarwal, sir, who has been the course director, the program director. Ever since COVID started, this has enriched us for more than 4.5, 5 years now. Multiple webinars every Saturday, every Sunday. And on behalf of all of us, I just wanted to say an institution in himself, Professor Dr. M.B. Agarwal, sir, that thank you for making our weekend so special and so enriching. This can't be better than this. You're an institution, you're teachers of teachers, Dronacharya, so many facets to your personality, and still you continue to be so humble and so enriching to all of us. We can't full, I mean, grateful is too small a word for you, sir. May I request you to take it on from here?
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Manoj, for those kind words. Can you see my screen? Okay. So good morning to one and all from India, and good afternoon, good evening if you are in the rest of the world. Today, we have a very, very important job to learn, and that is by our guest speaker, none other than Dr. Anjali Kedkar from Pune. Those of you who are with us for the last hematology meet in Mumbai, some of you were fortunate to listen to her. I was unfortunate. I missed her lecture. So I forced her to give this lecture to now the whole world. She's going to speak to us on AI in diagnostic hematology. This webinar is brought to you by Mumbai Hematology Group, supported by Intas, managed by Perfect Square. And I have to be thankful to Dr. Manoj Kumar and his team from Intas. I specifically kept this supported by Intas because I know the interest and qualifications of Dr. Manoj Kumar in the field of artificial intelligence. And there can be no other better person than him to support this and be present today. And then Mr. Yash Kalpesh and team from Perfect Square, the Executive Committee of Mumbai Hematology Group, our chief guest, Dr. Akshay Lahoti from Indore, the young budding hematologist today knows so much about AI that yes, our chief guest is a very, very young, but of course not so much budding hematologist. Our guest speaker, Dr. Anjali Kedkar, authority on AI in diagnostic hematology, and I understand that all of you will be itching to see her lab after her talk today. All our discussants who are eminent hematologists or hemato-oncologists, and their life will change, I think, after this talk today. And you participants also for sparing your Sunday morning for something with which you'll have a vision for tomorrow and you'd like to make it your today. A flavor of what we are going to learn next weekend, Saturday at 7 p.m. and the EST time 8:30 a.m. in US. We'll be learning about what's happening to smoldering multiple myeloma by none other than Dr. Rajshekhar Chakrabarti, who has spoken to us multiple times in past. And then Sunday morning, 11:30, UK time 6 a.m. We have Dr. Shankara Panisha once again with us, and he's going to tell us about a disease where treatment has revolutionized in just last 3 years. The mantle cell lymphoma, the treatment landscape in 2025, and how the transplants have become obsolete with what we have in our hands today. Our discussants today, and there are probably many more, but some are listed here, who will be physically present. Dr. Akshaya Mandloy from Mumbai, Dr. Amit Khurana, Surat, Dr. Amit Kaur Khalar from Mumbai, Amita Sharaf from Delhi, Anju Bharti from Varanasi, Ankur Ahuja, Delhi, Chitra Madiwale from Mumbai, Devdrita from Bangalore, Deepak MB, Bangalore, Nin Mai Thanda from Myanmar, Mayat Marlar Shu from Myanmar, Neha Kamble from Pune, Venkateshan from Pune, Savitri Singh, Delhi, Shivani Joshi, Nashik, Shubhangi Agale, Mumbai, Sindhura Lakshmi, KL, Karnataka, Shweta Rajpal, Mumbai, Tara Roshni Paul, Hyderabad, Tushar Sehgal, Delhi, Uday Kachi, Vadodara, and Vidisha Mahajan, Mumbai. You can see the biggest names in the diagnostic hematology from the country will be all there. How to introduce our guest speaker, Dr. Anjali Kelkar. She's a phenomenon. And I think that one word summarizes everything. She's beyond medicine. Few of things are listed here, and they are just few because they are probably relevant to our field. She's director of the lab at Ruby Hall Clinic Group of Hospitals, Pune. She's consultant in the diagnostic hematology, FAIMER, and I had to go to the Google to see what it means. It's the Foundation for Advancement of International Medical Education Research. Dr. Anjali, I'm thankful to you for exposing me to this particular group. I didn't know anything about this earlier. So FAIMER Fellowship in Medical Education, PSGFRI, and again I had to Google to see this. This stands for PSG Femur Regional Institute. And once again, I urge all of you to go to the Google, see this, and maybe become a part of it to update yourself and to make yourself more qualified as Anjali has done. Executive Educational Program in Healthcare Management from Indian Institute Management, Bangalore. What these two lines tell me that MBBS, MD, DM, all these are not the end of the story in your career. You can do many more things officially. Having these kind of experiences, qualifications, and a certification, and probably your vision will be much more wider, and you will be able to serve more people and help more people, as Anjali has done. She's a postgraduate teacher for DNB pathology, NABL assessor, lead and technical, NABH assessor, PAE SHCO hospital accreditation, trained in both CMC Vellore and Royal Free Hospital, London, UK. And she has earlier worked at multiple institutions of great importance, the KM Hospital, the Sayadri Hospital, and the Bharti Hospital, Pune. When she was at Bharti Hospital, Pune, I was fortunate to be invited at multiple occasions, almost every year, for her CMEs in hematology. So we will be now listening to her on AI in diagnostic hematology. I will now introduce our chief guest. I understand that he could not physically make it because he is in Prayagraj waiting for his turn to have the dip in the Sangam. But he has pre-recorded his speech, which our event manager is going to play. But to introduce him to you, Dr. Akshay Lahoti, and I met him in Indore a couple of years ago. A very impressive, very young, bubbling hematologist. He's assistant professor, Department of Clinical Hematology, Super Specialty Hospital, MGM Medical College, Indore. You need to sit with him and listen to him and talk to him to understand what a brain he has. He did his MBBS from JNMC Belgaum, DRNB General Medicine from Chaitram Hospital, Indore, PDCC Hemato-Oncology from SGPI, Lucknow, DM Clinical Hematology from AIMS, Bhubaneswar, special training in BMT for 1 year from TMC, Kolkata. Is there anything left in India? From Belgaum to Indore to Lucknow to Bhubaneswar to Kolkata, this gentleman, just like Anjali, has made himself qualified as much as possible to become what he is today. He is instrumental in initiating and developing the clinical hematology department in the state government medical college Indore, and that speaks volumes about him, because to develop a department in government medical colleges, even in the days of our present prime minister, is not easy. He's part of the dynamic team at the MGM Medical College, which has the largest BMT unit of the central India. And this may be understatement. He has completed more than 100 BMT when I asked him for his intro. By now, the figure must have crossed 150 or more. He was awarded with Chikitsalaya Samman Award by Nai Dunia for providing clinical hematology and bone marrow transplant services in the state of Madhya Pradesh. Clinical interests of Dr. Akshay Lahoti include both benign and malignant, as well as advanced hematology. He has the ambition to apply training and knowledge for the treatment, education, welfare, and research in Madhya Pradesh. And this is also very important because as a kid, I remember we used to say UP, Bihar, MP, and probably Odisha, Jharkhand didn't exist at that time, a bit backward states of India. And now see where we are. That this gentleman is going to change the scenario of hematology in MP with a strong determination of providing hematopoietic stem cell transplant services in central India where they were lacking before this gentleman. And he's going to inaugurate our webinar today with the words of wisdom. And I think the team will play his video, pre-recorded video. Please go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. It is truly an honor to be here, to be invited as a chief guest at the same platform where I have learned a lot of hematology. It is a privilege to be invited by Dr. M.B. Agrawal sir, who is a teacher, mentor, and guide for so many of us. It is a big opportunity to be here today to speak in front of young, brilliant minds who foresee or have chosen hematology as their career. Hematology is not just about studying blood. Every drop of blood tells you a story of health, disease, and hope. As hematologists, you are diagnosing, treating, and curing conditions that were once thought to be deadly. From sickle cell anemias to leukemias, from bleeding disorders to stem cell therapies, you as a hematologist are shaping the future of medicine. And that is what makes hematology interesting, exciting, and different from the other fields. Obviously, there will be some difficult times, but every challenge you overcome makes you stronger. My journey in hematology started from SGPJ Lucknow, and I had the privilege to work under the guidance of distinguished faculties at distinguished institutions. Dr. Prabodh Kumar Das, my guide and HOD at AIMS Bhubaneswar during my DM, is worshipped as God by so many patients. He always said that patients are never wrong, and that one saying completely changed my perception and care towards my patients. And that is what is helping me during my practice today too. And that is why question which comes to each one of our mind whenever we complete our hematology training, and that is how and where to establish our clinical practice. Whether we should join a government medical college or a private hospital, or we should start our own private clinic. My advice is you may choose any to start with. Whatever opportunity knocks, grab it. It will be a learning experience in your hematology career. Enjoy the work you do, build a team wherever you work. I would like to thank and conclude all of you by a single motivational line, and that is never stop believing in the power of your dreams. And with that, I extend my heartfelt thanks to Dr. M.B. Agrawal sir, Dr. Amit Khurana, and Mumbai Hematology Group for inviting me today. Thank you.
Well, thank you for those golden words. Build up a team wherever you are. I think that sentence sums it up. In field of medicine, this is extremely important. And as you will soon see in the lecture today, build up the team. And that's what probably Anjali has been doing. So now let's listen to Anjali.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you to the entire group for giving me this opportunity, and uh, thanks for those kind words of introduction. Appreciation from sir is something that all of us would cherish, and with that, I will share my screen. And I hope this is clearly visible and I am audible too.
Perfect.
It's
Everything.
very nice to see so many friends among the crowd and hoping to make some new friends as well. Artificial intelligence in diagnostic hematology. I had to add this line to this that AI is the future of healthcare. These are some of the glimpses from our lab. I'll get to that eventually. There is no need to emphasize again the value of diagnostics and the benefits of diagnostics. We all know that right from risk stratification to the cost benefits for to the better prognosis, everywhere the diagnostics are extremely important. Um, just give me 1 second. This was blocking my screen. Sorry. Right. So just to begin, role of technology in clinical laboratories, it is we cannot overemphasize it. The changes, the advances in software and advances in engineering has helped us a lot. Overall, the medicine and especially the laboratories, because some things like quality control and security and privacy of data was something which we struggled a lot when we were learning and when we were new in practice. Now the scene is entirely different. If we see overall influence of AI in our life, we know what I mean. We come to know through the news, which keep on coming up daily basis about Elon Musk. He came up with something called a Neuralink, and they had this initial goal of helping people with paralysis to regain independence. Now there are these some famous experiments on pigs and monkeys, etc., where multiple neurons instead of few neurons uh, were used, because of a device which was implanted, and the monkey was able to play just with the device, something called as video game called as mind. So all this is happening around us. Actually, that is a world we are living in right now. So multiple levels are influenced by AI. There are many broad implications. Most of us as medical professionals are not very clear about the extent and about the potential. Uh, we are largely not aware. And also we are little aware about what are the limits and what are the pitfalls. So what we should be knowing a bit is about the technological definitions, what is the taxonomy, and what are the potential applications in the clinical practice, research, education, etc. So this is an example uh, to represent in a brief our data, right? Do we want to find these four Bollywood stars very clearly? What do we want to do is we have to have meaningful analysis of complex data. We know who our stars are. Fortunately, we have different stars for that matter, but we want to see them very clearly. We have to know our data very clearly in a meaningful way. So, what I intend to do today is to give an overview about this AI and ML and how relevant we can say that it is in hematology, some of the diagnostic trends transforming healthcare, and an overview of total lab automation. So, again, to give some of the background, is still we depend on phenotypic features. There is a huge amount of genetic context that we get, but yes, phenotypic features are still important for us, which are probably regularly posing diagnostic ambiguity. We rely on the experience skills of persons who need to be available all the time. So, to increase the consistency of data interpretation, what we want to have is standardized and structured data. And this will support various downstream artificial intelligence. And probably we will be able to develop reliable and trustworthy AI models. So, what we want to remove from the existing structure perhaps is remove the various kinds in which we get to see our data. We have to have some structure to it. So introducing artificial intelligence, it's a definition which is available to everybody. It's a field of study which focuses on developing machines which can learn, reason, and act in ways that would normally require human intelligence. So this is the aim. Now these systems, they use algorithms. So data is analyzed, patterns are identified, and probably decisions are also made. So, what do we see in our day to day life about this? Of course, we know Alexa and Siri. There are self driving cars around the corner, probably already existing in many parts of the world. Robotic OTs are with us. Internet search is something which is based completely backed up by AI. Then face recognition, speech recognition, etc. So people are quite enthusiastic. This cartoon, it says that, okay, we will, ride away on magic flying unicorn. So this is the kind of forecast people are thinking that AI would do. We don't know as yet, because I will cover in some of the further slides that what are the prerequisites. Probably if we want to achieve this, then what are the prerequisites? Having said that, in the field of hematology, say we see 40% rise in the ASH abstracts in the last 2 years. There are FDA approvals of these AI or ML enabled medical devices rising every year. Then there are new ML-based models and prognostication systems coming up in the market, and research transforming into clinical practice is now becoming a reality. So digital data-driven diagnostics is the future, is cannot be an overstatement. There are multiple stakeholders who get benefited, including the labs, the physicians, the payers, and also the patients. Patients are likely to engage more in their own health, and probably this will lead to improved outcomes. So again, coming back, AI, machine learning. So AI is trying to develop the machines, and what machines are doing, they are trying to create and analyze the data sets used by AI. They do not rely on a programmer. They look at the patterns and they can actually learn to process the data by examining these data sets and what are the expected outcomes. Again, a glaring example in today's world is ChatGPT. What about these machine learning methods? They are many times used interchangeably, but we shouldn't be doing that. AI, it tries to simulate human behavior and intelligence, while machine learning is typically automatic detection of patterns. Now, there are kinds of learning. There is something called as supervised, unsupervised learning, and there is something called as reinforcement learning, which is deep learning, so far not used in medicine. If we look at the supervised and unsupervised learning, the examples are such as these. Supervised predict survival following allogeneic hematopoietic stem cell transplant. Okay. Goal is to predict outcome based on a labeled training set. Unsupervised goal is to identify the patterns, and so there is unlabeled data. This through machine learning, there would be clusters identified with similar gene expression profile among B cell lymphoma, etc. And as I was saying, deep learning is still not applicable, not used in medical practice. This can be an example for easier understanding that there is an understanding of the problem. For example, variables and relapse are understood by the machines or by the data analysis. Then the data is understood, data is prepared, it is modeled, then it is evaluated, and then it is given for deployment. That is inherent selection bias, survival outcome, relapse prediction, then evaluations it's extremely important for reinforcing whether it is happening correctly or no by an expert, and then probably there would be implementation in the clinical use. So any model which is used by these artificial intelligence and machine learning platforms is continuously evaluated and calibrated. There has to be a human expert available for comparison what is being given through all this data, whether it is correct, whether it is suitable, whether it is applicable, and then these models are evaluated and recalibrated. So these are the algorithms. Probably all of us now have to learn some of the some of the phrases that are being used throughout these protocols. Logistic regression, that is probability of a dichotomized outcome using logistic function. Decision tree, which is a flowchart like structure. There is something called as test and then outcome, and they represent the branches and the leaves, etc. Random forest, consistent prediction by averaging the results, and multi-layer prediction, deep learning, support vector machines, so on and so forth. These are some of the examples which I came across of being used in the literature. Now, in what happens in clinical laboratories, we all know that there is this whole slide pathology imaging is available now. There is breast cancer screening which is available now, and cell-based imagings are also available now. So what are the advantages? Obviously, machines are recognizing the patterns in these images, which don't have to sleep, they don't need rest periods, they don't have distractions, and therefore high throughput quality of detection above and beyond their human counterparts is something which is getting achieved. Now, problems are still there, that there is still substantial uncertainty about that accuracy. Still, they are not able to outperform the humans, but yes, continuously the technology is advancing. This is the picture in the laboratories. What about giving in a nutshell for the understanding of hematologists? Is in order to solve a problem computationally, the input is transferred into the desired output by following a sequence of instructions. So, for example, microscopic images, mutation profiles are analyzed by cell type classification, prognostic scores, etc. And we are likely to get the algorithms based on which we can decide for the patient. So, in short, machine learning is subdomain of artificial intelligence. It attempts to computationally extract meaningful insights from complex data structures. We know digital microscopy, these are some of the examples, having single cell or pattern analysis. Support evaluation of flow cytometry data is one example right now. Cytogenetics aiding the karyotypes. Then develop personalized models integrating multiple data sources, estimate the response to treatment, accurately predict prognosis of various leukemias. All this is very much possible. Some of it is already happening. So for morphologists, what is happening? There are these machine learning based image segmentations. Many of the labs across the country are now having these machines which you put the slide in and you get the images like that. Apart from that, there are features which are available, such as extraction of morphology features associated with genetic aberrations. So not only identifying the cells and putting them into a square for identification, machines are also trying to extract the genetically correlatable features from these images. Now, all these available centrally after some integration which is happening. If you can see on the right side of the image, clinical and genetic data is also integrated. Now, all this is available for the experts evaluation. So this is something which is enhancing the speed at which we are giving information from the diagnostic laboratory to the clinical clinician treating the patient in a very short time. And that's a huge advantage. What happens in the chromosome? Now here, again, in all this, even in the cell morphology, in the chromosomal analysis, and the next example is of flow cytometry, everywhere, whatever the inputs you are able to give to the system are extremely important. So the kind of images that are being provided to the karyotyping analysis softwares are extremely important. And every time, whatever the tweaking has to happen by the expert who is sitting in the genetics lab. For flow cytometry as well, there are two kinds which are available. The image can be transformed directly for analysis, And also the raw antigen expression values can also be given for analysis, and correction of misclassification to continuously improve the model is happening. So my point over here is all this is something in progress, but yes, the progress is getting very rapidly ahead. So variant interpretations, prognostication systems, and multiomics data integration is something which is happening at the molecular genetics data level. So integration of clinical data, integration of the genetic profiling. Together, it is happening for the diagnostic and decision about the targeted therapies. Again, some of the examples of the systems which were used. So inputs were images from these are from different publications. So images from contrast enhanced microscopy, micrography devices, clinical laboratory data, molecular flow analysis, and what all people could achieve was, of course, the diagnostic likelihoods, benign or malignant subtypes of leukemias, whether infection or leukemia, AML versus non-AML, bone marrow cells, then histology-based classification, so on and so forth. And you can see on the right-hand side what all algorithms were used. So we better get familiarized with the understanding of these terminologies and how they can finally help us. I like this cartoon since long, many years. And yes, the right-hand most corner is something that we all really do. We try to make sense out of the information that we get, and probably our lives will be easier with more advances in the uh, artificial intelligence and machine learning. I'll not dwell too much on this because this is not extremely relevant to hematology as such, but I just wanted to give you the glimpse of what is happening in today's world and what all the diagnostic trends are evolving to with the help of artificial intelligence. So there are point of care at home diagnostics. Of course, there are benefits and challenges for everything, but with this again advancements in the tools, we probably will get more and more benefits out of this predictive and personal genetics, real-time testings, right? Then all these clinical decision support solutions where AI will be playing a huge role. Data-driven lab optimization solutions, I cannot overemphasize again. This is something we have experienced in our lab also, that with some of the implementations of laboratory software such as middlewares, we are able to handle the inventory, staff situations, etc. in a much better way. There are limitations because huge complexity, huge range of conditions, and we are getting only specific time point results. Again, there are some tests happening in the lab, some tests happening in the ER, etc. So there is a variation in the data, and those are our current limitations. How to exploit full potential of AI in hematology diagnosis with the goal to achieve comprehensive integration in our routine clinical systems. So what we have to have is standardized protocols. Transform generated data into structured AI ready data, right? We cannot have multiple kinds of inputs giving to the system. Then monitoring the performance, ability to adopt and learn from this new data, keeping patient safety at heart, and proof and evidence for adaptation for routine practice. So this is the flowchart in which if our data are in the first place very organized, then yes, further things are also achievable. From the physician's brain to the laboratrician's brain and vice versa, there are so many things which happen in between. And I am very glad to say that many of these things are now possible without human interference to an extent, to a large extent, out of which instrumentation self-diagnosis, then checking sample qualities, laboratory results, QC, we can actually put the rules in this middleware software, and through which we can actually auto-validate, auto-verify, and auto-release the reports. Even, all the things are correctly made sure of placing in, having placed in proper place. So this is something which I would elaborate a little further. as to how we are able to do this actually, and how we are able to achieve this something through something called as total lab automation. So mind you, most of these processes can now get automated. As just before the beginning of this today's webinar, we were having a very brief discussion about how to expedite all these processes which were having a huge human interaction interface. Now that interface can be eliminated. Those manpower can be used for a better purpose in the laboratory. We at Ruby All have uh, more than one hospital. We are at least 3 different locations right now. Number of patients, and with PG teaching and all the accreditations in place, etc. Our laboratory having to process roughly more than 10,000 samples every day. We previously had multiple vendors, and then we thought of integrating so many systems together with the help of these middleware softwares and artificial intelligence and some part of machine learning also. We thought that we need to have more consistent that we need to give proper attention to the stat samples. We didn't want separate watertight departments. We didn't want much sample movements through the analyzers, simplified vendor and inventory management, and reduce the vendors. So we wanted to integrate, auto-validate, have our QC rules uniformly everywhere, have dashboards so that we can make quick decisions and enable through a system some central tracking. So these were our priorities. We also wanted to optimize the cost. We didn't want to have something very high funda in our laboratory and paying for from our own pockets, etc. But yes, we wanted to make the lab lean, and we wanted to expand also. So many things, the list was not ending, but we trusted that automation would have excellence in the operations. So, and then we studied a lot. We studied how we can achieve this, how we would want to have these electronic medical records also supported by the laboratory, because hospital is going all in out for paperless work and etc. So this robotics in testing was something which actually we got very interested in that, because this information system of the laboratory will impact all the processes in the laboratory, right from automated sample handling till the high throughput. This is a picture, sorry. This is a picture of something called as automated tube labeler, which you can integrate in your system, and you can just get the tubes delivered for a specific patient, which then is carried forward throughout your entire process. So for us, we could integrate all these systems, which are biochemistry, immunology, hematology. Then the slide maker and stainer was also automated, is also automated, and we have got the digital morphology platform. Now, as I was talking about the middleware, we could integrate our clinical pathology and coagulation also in our entire system of automation. So right now, what all is automated through this system is identification and sorting. This is done by the robots. This is based on machine learning. Centrifugation is automated. This is through the middleware software. So whatever samples can get centrifuged, need to get centrifuged at what speed, etc., is decided. They are all automatically transported to the analyzers, tested, and they are also archived. So these were the points of relevance for us: quality and productivity, automation, sustainability, again, commercial outlook, and after sales services. We discussed a lot. We had lots and lots of management review meetings and etc., comparative analysis. And finally, we decided on a particular system. There are many good vendors in the market, and it entirely depends on your question as to which vendor you would select. So for us, very important thing was to bring all the hospitals on one platform and have the QC rules applicable across with very efficient inventory management. So we went ahead with this vendor. There are, as I said, multiple vendors. It depends on what kind of practice your hospital or you yourself are into. So we have some 7 odd machines here. I've tried to put in some video just for your understanding. So this is the way the samples are, they move through this system. This is the track which is there. And these are the robots in this video. So they decide, they understand what tube is, what is it meant for, what is the volume, what is the weight, and what are the tests, and accordingly they are either sent for centrifugation or they are sent for analysis, and they are gotten back here for archiving. This is a real fast forwarded video of the system actually working. So there are 2 robots here in this system. So anyway, so that is a way. This was at the time we did a lot. We had to do a lot of validation and etc. As I was saying, all these models, whatever your AI and machine learning thing is going to happen, you have to intervene at different time points and you have to tweak the system. You have to train your staff. There is a lot of unlearning and new learning, and all that is going to take your operations at another level. Just to briefly show this case to you all, he was a young male. He visited our OPD in the evening. He had complaints of severe fatigue. He was having gum bleed since 2 days. Baseline tests on admission showed that he had pancytopenia. Now, typically, when you say on a Friday evening, a person coming with pancytopenia, diagnosis was informed by the lab within an hour, because although it was a difficult case in the sense that during night time you would have less staff, the staining of the slide will get affected, and so on and so forth. But touch wood, we had this system installed. We had this digital morphology. We have CellaVision, which is the digital morphology analyzer. This system is accessible to us from our PCs, and the PG who was posted could quickly post these photos and we could inform the clinician within no time. So this was truly beneficial to us, because with TLC of 1400, especially during the night, and you getting the diagnosis during that time itself, we thought that it's a big aid for our working and for the early diagnosis of this patient. This turned out to be, of course, APML. So looking forward, we will have a crucial role in clinical space. Personalized medicine, creating therapies for individuals based on their very particular responses. For example, we learned so much through COVID-19. Healthcare professional observations and genomic proteomics and biological data, they have to work hand in hand. And we need operations at large scales for understanding and learning from population data. We need to evaluate, make corrections, and derive insights. We can do all this, that probably we will be able to optimize cancer treatment using spatial single cell proteomics. So this is actually people are publishing about this. What do we need for the clinical laboratories to achieve this? Right from the consent and all the ethical and legal frameworks are extremely essential in the laboratory. So we face diverse sources of records, data, results, everything. But what we actually need is to automatic data transfer from the instruments. This data has to be clean, good quality, well structured, and consistent data. Once this is available, then the further systems can function, which need infrastructural changes for the large data volume handling. We need strict data governance from the government and also within our organizations. And also we have to have very stringent algorithms on data containing misdiagnosis, erroneous treatments, wrong scenarios, etc. So that is the end of my slide packs. Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. And over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Anjali. Great exposure to a field to which we are a bit novice. A lot of guys over here. I'm sure they will have lots of questions. We may fall short of time, but let's see what all can be done. Dr. Amrita, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, sir. And Dr. Anjali, I have heard a lot about you, and it was really a talk which is full of so many things which we keep on thinking. But truly speaking, we are quite confused also, like how much AI can help in our day-to-day work and practice. So, just to cut short, I have two questions. One is like, how can AI help in minimizing the inter-observer variation in the data interpretation, for example, MRD by flow cytometry?
So, right. So basically, AI is per se not going to help the morphologists in that sense, right?
Yeah.
For AI to be useful, we basically need those images of consistently good quality.
Okay.
And then once that point is addressed, then it depends on the interpreter's skills. So that is the crux of the matter over here. Now, again, for flow cytometry, there are two kinds available. Either the images, either the flow charts, which are given by the scatter plots, everything by the machine, or there is a possibility that raw data can also be given for analysis. So, how good? There is this saying that garbage in, garbage out. That is the true
Yes.
fact over here. So, I wanted to keep that last slide for that same purpose, that so much we need to achieve at that basic level of having a consistent, good quality data. So I hope I'm close to what you are wanting to ask.
Yeah, because sometimes, the clinicians are definitely very much, they want a quick answer, like what the MRD is
Before
coming.
even the
And
sample is
yes,
reached.
at times. And in a tertiary care center, the patient is putting pressure on them, and that pressure is reflected, on us. So,
Yeah.
especially in cases of, I think BLL is still easier, but in AML, we have to face a lot of challenges at times. And it is definitely time consuming. What we have realized, sometimes there is a difference in the opinion. So, that's why I raised this question. But I understand what you are saying, ma'am. And my another question is it's about the coagulation. Like, can AI help in the early detection of coagulation disorder, like we test for hemophilia, thrombophilia, or DIC, and also we use ROTEM for our ICU patients for a quick diagnosis and
Rotem has
management?
a fantastic software already with them.
Yeah,
And
right,
actually, yes, coagulation is, yes, of course. I don't know how much machine learning is going to help in coagulation in that sense, because machine learning is typically addressing learning from the patterns.
right.
But yeah, but having said that, probably the rotem images,
We share
no,
it with the
I,
PICU people,
yeah,
actually.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
The
correct.
same moment, it's like
Yes,
it is in the lab,
yeah,
the
yeah,
system, but the same time the images are being shared
yeah,
by PICU
yes.
and the doctor can see. So
And they are
even though,
seeing, huh?
it's like throughout 24 hours they
Yeah,
can see, but we have to interpret and give our opinion, which sometimes gets late once in the middle of night, or like around
yeah,
2
yeah,
a.m. or
yeah.
3 a.m. So I was just thinking, like, if AI can help in terms
Uh,
of a quick interpretation of their data, and
mm,
it reflects like what exactly in terms of management, because they are also mostly residents are on duty.
mm,
So it becomes very important, like whether they have to give fibrinogen or FFP or tenaxamic acid. And we get sample from a lot many departments like
yeah,
pediatrics and for adults, like from different unit, vascular surgeons. So maybe at some point
Yeah.
of time, AI can really help in
Yes,
taking
yes.
a quick decision.
I agree with you. And I
Yeah.
think this is a very, very likely possibility. Again, those models will have to be interfered by us, I mean, experts who are sitting in the laboratory for the whether this is going as correct.
Yeah.
That is the
Yeah.
whole question that is still in our mind right now about all these technologies. But yes, they
Right.
are bound to evolve. They are bound
And
to
like,
evolve to a point where
yeah,
very less interferences will finally be required.
right.
Yes,
Like monitoring
thanks.
of
Yeah.
DOACs also is one important point, if that can help in terms of monitoring of high-risk patients. So,
Yes, yes. Yeah. So pattern identification in the data and finding out
yeah.
the algorithms. It's
So I,
amazing. I mean, yeah, the more you go into the depths of this, it's
right.
truly extremely amazing. On one hand, you have the clinical information, all the morphological and etc. You have the genetic data available,
Yes,
and
yes.
people are going to know about what exactly, how exactly this patient is going to, do with this medication, not do good
Yes,
or
ma'am. But
whatever.
after
Yeah.
listening to your talk, like it seems like dreams are going to be true someday. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
very
yeah, yeah.
positive vibes you have created, actually. Thank you so
Oh yes,
much.
yes. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Just a word about this coagulation data in the hospitals. Today, the anesthesiologist in the theater is virtually a master of the printout of the tech, and he's guiding the surgeon on the table in the theater what products to give. So clinicians, hematologists, they all come in the picture much later. So it is a savior today in the theater.
Hmm.
You talked about PICU, but any ICU, especially weekends, holidays, midnight, where the job is done even before you reach on the scene or they can contact you. So this is a tremendous, tremendous savior. I was just thinking that even when we began the automated blood counter, cell counters, 3 cell counter to today, so many parameters at the less than a minute when you have that information in front of you. Sometimes you feel you should take history and examination of the patient later on. You should first have this paper in front of you, which gives you so much of information and can you guide you what questions to ask, what to examine in the patients. The order, that history, examination, planning the investigation, interpreting and making a diagnosis, you can probably reverse the whole thing in a field like hematology. Dr. Ankur, your question.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for inviting me as a discussant. And ma'am, we have been listening to and thank you, Anjali ma'am. You have been guiding us throughout for NABL accreditation at AFMC, ma'am. So I have also two questions, one by one, ma'am. Ma'am, how do you think AI can play a role in maintaining quality control, especially now we are an NABL accredited lab, so following all the directions so that we can maintain those, follow those directions of the NABL, ma'am.
Uh, right. So, quality control, if you look at your IQC and ICAS data and everything,
Yes, ma'am.
main impact these machines are, or rather the AI is going to have is on the analysis of internal quality control
Ma'am.
and setting up those rules and everything. Because once you have your rules put in your system through your middleware software, until and unless that QC is passed to your satisfaction, machines are not going to, touch the samples. So it's a very, very strong process. And then beyond that is your analysis of the QC. So everywhere you are able to now put the algorithms and decide the rules and decide the time points when you are actually want. So all this is NABL is not putting us any boundaries
Yes,
to
ma'am.
us as to which particular technology to use or not use. So that's very good. And this is the way we can, make our life easy for the QC part of it.
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And yeah, and across the institutes, like for example, all the army hospitals, for example, theoretically, all the laboratories can be on the same platform for the QC, and everywhere the learning and everywhere the analysis can be the same. Let's see.
Ma'am, my second question again is your portfolio, ma'am. You're a famous specialist, ma'am. So how do you think AI can help us impact and the impact of the training and education, especially to train the UGs and the PGs as a future hematologist and future hematologist, ma'am?
Right. So identification of patterns, and
Ma'am,
you can, yeah, you yourself have done medical education, so
ma'am.
so many platforms you can use for PG and UG education, especially for the morphological analysis part of it. No doubt and no boundaries on that front. So you can create all these. What you can say, virtual classes, virtual competency analysis, and so many things. Excellent.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ankur. I remember a visit to D.Y. Patil Institute in Pune.
Mm.
Dr. Neha Kamble had organized a HEMAT CME, and she took us for a round of the hospital. As a part of that visit, we were taken to the obstetric department. And I was wondering what a hematologist is going to do in the obstetric department. But they had a demonstration which made me understand what this whole field of IVF in obstetrics is and how the AI has been used in that institution in just simple teaching a non-obstetrician about what all they are doing in their field. So yes, education is an extremely important part. Neha herself is here, and I'm thankful to Neha for that visit to your obstetric department. Dr. Manoj?
Mm, Ma'am, my question, excellent talk, Dr. Anjali and Professor Agarwal, sir. My question to you is, since now you have experience of setting up an entire ecosystem and a team in your hospital, group of hospital, uh, what advice you would have for young hematologists who are in the process of setting up this early AI/ML enabled ecosystem? What is that they team members need to stop doing? What is that they need to start doing? And what is that they need to continue doing? So my question is on stop, start, and continue.
Actually, you know what? They have to continue. Continue doing is the easiest part of it, and continue looking at the images through your microscope. That you can never ever stop, you know, because whatever data you are finally going to get through the machines and analysis of the images and everything, you need to validate at the crucial time points. One of the case which I showed, we had to, yes, we had to confirm that it is applicable. So finally, yes, maybe there will be a day when we will be completely able to rely. But for um, to go there, you cannot skip your morphology. Now, stop doing is probably, stop writing and start using more and more of your PCs and softwares and everything that is available. Make yourselves comfortable and conversant with the language of the new world, that is computer and so many more things which come with that. And what was the third? You have to, that is stop, continue, and start. Yeah. So stop and start probably is that same thing. So that is in nutshell. Clinical practice is going to get added leaps and bounds by advances in technology. So just bear that in mind and try and keep pace with the technology.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Manoj. Dr. Tara?
Good morning, and thank you, ma'am. I'd like to know, we've been using our scanners only to take the images from peripheral smear and bone marrow aspirates. They have these algorithms for classifying and subcategorizing the different leukemias. How do they compare with the ultimate flow cytometry results? Like, how accurate using of these images?
With a right. So okay. So it again, it depends on how good are the images, right? And if that entirely is at par, I mean, images are good, and then you are comparing it with the flow cytometry data, then whatever the biologically, what I must say, if, for example, you are thinking between myeloid and L2, and your flow is going to give, then yeah, they are to date, they are very comparable. If that is a question you are asking, yes, they are very comparable.
And regarding the RBC morphology from the peripheral smears,
Yeah.
like the quantitative, like, schistocytes, how many significant, etc. Can that be?
Oh yes, actually, I wanted to, have include more images from that vision that we have. It is very good. It is extremely good, and it helps a lot for teaching also. Dr. Ankur was asking, so probably I would have told at that time also that RBC morphology is something which is picked up by the equipment very nicely, very in a very good correct way, and you can check your technicians and your PG's knowledge about poikilocytes. Of course, having said that, there is a scope for tweaking. Sometimes it will pick up some stuff which is not even an RBC, for example. Yeah, so that will happen. These things are bound to happen, and that is the way you are going to finally make it more and more accurate. But yes, even for platelets, it is very useful. So right now, what we are having is having our machine data about the platelets and our vision data integrated on our PCs. So we see what kind of platelets are there in the uh, by the machine, what is given by the machine, what is given by the cell counter. So all this is very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you. You talked about cystocytes. In the last ASH, there was a talk on artificial intelligence, the diagnosis of TTP. There was a German guy, Dr. Hormon, who is running the leukemia lab there. He showed the data of calculating the plasmic score. We use in clinics plasmic score to say that this may be TTP, this may not be TTP. So emergency plasma exchange to be done or not to be done. All that ADAMTS, etc., takes 3, 4, 5 days to come to our hands. And the accuracy of that calculation of plasmic score was by AI was so good. Great. That said that the accuracy was 98 to 99% finally when the ADAMTS data was available. So it's fantastic.
This is how we should do it, sir. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. Dr. Tushar.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, sir. Thank you, sir, for the invitation, and thank you, ma'am, for the wonderful talk. Ma'am, I'm Dr. Tushar from AIMS, Delhi. Ma'am, I listened to your presentation on AI in hematology. Ma'am, I have one question. Ma'am, that you discussed about a lot of expensive equipments like Vision and total lab automation, which may not be available to all the centers at all
Yes.
time points. So what is your advice to the young people, young budding hematologists, that how would they incorporate AI in their daily working environment without bothering about the cost? Thank you, ma'am.
It's a very good question. Yeah, it does involve. It does involve cost. It does involve infrastructure, and institutional practices are going to get benefited a lot with this. That is no doubt about it. What probably our people can do is to liaison with institutions to enhance their morphological and otherwise other skills and data analysis and etc. If they are at a remote place, they can liaison. They can have a good system of having been able to capture good images, and probably that way it can be. And of course, visiting those institutes, learning from their insights can be another way.
Ma'am, thank you, ma'am. Can the current technology like WhatsApp or Chat GPT play a role, because those platforms are relatively free nowadays? And can these be incorporated slowly into these morphology analysis?
I think they will be incorporated. I mean, it's we are not far from there. Yes, but again, see, there is one thing that the government has come up. NMC is coming up with a law that these remote remote practices, remote opinions are barred. You cannot do that. And one of the reasons they are doing this is the kind of data that if you are sitting at a very high end center, and if you are wanting to give opinion to somebody else who is at the remote, and that remote person is not having same technology as yours, then the entire process is it is the purpose is hijacked basically. So that is the thing.
Yeah. And the remote centers also don't have the Wi-Fi access, internet access,
so
those
many
basic
things,
facilities.
and
So it
basically the
is,
quality of data, that is what
yes.
we are concerned. So all this will come into full-fledged action once we have ensured the quality of data at all the locations.
Yeah, so it is not an easy thing.
It's not easy.
It's not yes, easy. A lot of challenges in Indian scenario.
Yes, yes.
Even to liaison with a center which has access to all facilities.
Yeah. Then at least something basic you have to have at your end.
Yes. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Tushar. Dr. Anjali, I have a question to you.
Yes, sir.
So I've got 200 guys who want to come to your center to learn AI. Now, what are the kind of profile you're going to look at in selecting, say, you've got one single person to be taught or given the observership or a training? My understanding is that besides medicine, of course, we are very poor, but besides medicine, a guy should have a good knowledge of computer science. He should have a good knowledge of statistics, should have good knowledge of mathematics. He should know the language.
It is a flair for stats and maths. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, flair, of course. But his basic knowledge of these subjects should be proper. So if you have to make a selection, say today, sincerely, I'm asking a question that if guys ask me to forward their CV to you for selecting one person to be trained at your center, what are you going to look at?
Yes, as you mentioned very rightly, sir, basically an interested pathologist, interested morphologist who also wants to understand how data are, can be analyzed in a relevant manner. What are the questions in clinicians' minds which can be given answer to through what kind of process? At least an overview of this, apart from these basic skills of computer and mathematics and everything. So a progressive forward thinker. Yeah. So that is something I would look into that person for.
Sure. The second question, that you converted your lab into this kind of modern lab. The institutions always ask for that, is it cost effective? And at the end of the day, even after 5 years or 10 years, is the hospital going to earn double than what they've invested? Answer will be yes or difficult?
It's a big aid towards that target if we are wanting to enhance our business and bring more profit and everything, because the processes are so systematized now that we are actually able to, Sir, Ruby Hall since so many years. So for the first time, our lab is approaching the markets, and all that. So cost effectivity we definitely ensured. Right now, we don't have to really purchase, apart from, I think, government institutes. Most of the other institutes are going in for reagent rental kind of proposals, and we made sure that we are not spending what we had to from what we were doing before. And this has really given us huge freedom to actually go and explore for work, by which you can serve patients from the periphery also. So this has actually become possible. I don't know about doubling the business, but yes, definitely it can be increased.
Thank you. Dr. Neha, your question.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Agarwal sir, for the lovely reminiscence and the honor we had to host you at our institution. It was really enriching to have you with us. My question for Anjali ma'am would be in lines with Dr. Tushar sir's question. In case of a legal dispute from a patient, considering the error that we are taking in AI in hematology, where does the diagnostician or a clinician stand in the court of law? And where can we have that blanket of maybe, doubt or the error that AI can have and any legal implications of it?
Right. So legal implications is entirely, you are totally bound by legalities. Whatever systems you put forth in your laboratory, put into action in your laboratory, you are entirely responsible. you cannot pass the buck that yes, this was the AI, which then it will go back to entire validation, etc., etc., etc. So just bear that in mind completely. As of now, that is the scenario. As of now, nobody is supporting for giving you any remote consults and diagnosis and this and that. Nothing.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
I have a feeling that human eye and human brain, I mean, I'm not going to comment about others' human eyes and other brain, but as far as I see, my human eye, my brain and my eyes are inferior to what the machines are doing. And often when I see the data from the machine, I find myself wrong and the machine right. That has happened more often. I give a very simple example of a patient who was diagnosed. You quoted a case of pancytopenia. His wife had pancytopenia, and there was a diagnosis made of hypoplastic anemia. And after about 4 months, she had acute leukemia. And the husband brought a printout of the cell counter 4 months ago. And the printout read in the morphology, blasts. 4 months ago, when the patient was still under hypoplastic anemia. And he asked me, did my wife have a leukemic process at that time? So that is the advantage of having this automation, where a cell may be missed by human eye, human brain, but the machine had already picked up, and if you had read that and seen the slide, you would have also picked it up.
Yes, sir.
So
these are huge aids right now.
Use it carefully. It is a phenomenal benefit. About the tag and all, also what we were talking, it's a phenomenal benefit to a clinician. See, at the end of the day, we are treating the person. And if this helps us, even one patient out of 100,
exactly, sir.
It's fantastic, and it is happening. Yeah.
Yes.
Ankur, you have more questions? Your raise hand sign.
Ankur has not put down his hand.
Maybe it is just the old one. There are some questions here. Okay, Dr. Amrita, go ahead.
Sir, this is basically more of a comment rather than a question. What you said, I fully agree with that, because once we see the scattergrams and the plots, it gives us a lot of hints. And sometimes we have so much of work pressure that, sometimes it is missed. But I think we should always pay attention to what kind of warnings or messages it says, and also have a, look at the scattergrams, because it doesn't recognize what it is, but it will always say abnormal cell stroke blast. Now it becomes the morphologist. We are just not morphologists. In fact, we say we are laboratory physicians. I mean, that's what we prefer to be called since, time of Professor S.K. Sood, that it's not a good idea just to be morphologist. So we have to use our brain, we have to see the data, we have to see the warning signs. And then if it is saying abnormal cells or blast, we should pay an attention to this warning. So sometimes this happens, like it is a dengue season, or these days we are getting a lot of viral issues, and we see these kind of reactive looking cells, but still we prefer to make a call to the physicians, whether clinical side or like whosoever is sending the patient, if we have slightest of clue that there may be a suspicion of malignancy. It is always good to see the slide again before we make a final comment. So it works, it helps. And I mean, I have learned with my mentors that instrument, if within full control with equas and our internal controls coming satisfactory, it will find something which our eyes can miss.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sure. We'll take some question from the audience now. Dr. Rushikesh Barad. Considering the Genome India project, producing vast amount of data, where should one start to make a panel of curated for Indian cohort in various cancers?
That's the question, sir.
That's the first question on the top in the chat box. Rishikesh Baran.
Yes. Where should one start to make a panel of curated great market disruption? Watch business. Shall I say? My God. Okay. Yeah. Where should one start to make a panel of curated? See, whatever I understand from this question, is how do we analyze this whole huge data that is getting generated, and how should we make sense out of it for our Indian population? I think that, sir, do you think this is the thing
Yeah, that's what he's asking.
Yeah. So that's entirely up to, I suppose, the AI companies. I may not be the correct person to answer this.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's fair enough. The second part of the question, another second question is for students who aspire to create a market.
That also, market disruption in this domain. So I suppose probably they should be working with the software companies and developing these models for deeper understanding. Sir, previously we didn't have so much of NGS and so much of data available to us also. Now it is available, and we are trying to make sense of so many mutations and other things which start coming up through that. So it's a big data analysis, and it is to be handled by the companies who are handling the data analytics.
Yeah.
I'll go to the next question, sir. When CBC machine came, most of pathologists not look at PS only. Machine report was given similarly. Yeah, so I think we discussed this, that there is no, as of now, and I don't know who stopped looking at the peripheral smears. That is something wrong they did, huh? You should not stop looking at the peripheral smears. You should be using the CBC machine data very thoughtfully, and then actually looking at from that perspective, whatever information is given to you by the machine. You cannot stop altogether.
I can just add to this that it helps you in dissecting out which slides you should see.
Yes.
At the end of the day, as Anjali said, there are 10,000 samples, and CBC is asked by the whole hospital. Now, it's impossible for a hematopathologist to see all the slides. So at least it will help you in selecting out what should not be missed. So your workload will be then manageable. Beyond that, then there is another question. Devadritas.
I'll read it up, sir. What can be the workflow to interpret molecular genetics profile from morphology? About morphology analyzers currently available, pros and cons, wish to use digital morphometry. Okay. So there are, now first question, what can be the workflow to interpret molecular genetics profile from morphology? So there is this, these classifications, they get updated. Recently, the WHO latest has been, there are articles based on that also. So people are doing this from quite some time, that trying to correlate the morphology with molecular genetics profile. So this will keep on evolving. This is going to be evolving as much as possible, as we keep on getting the data on the genetics and correlating with the morphology. Morphology analyzers available, I have forgotten the other names, but this CellaVision is something which we finally selected. I think there are analyzers associated with Horiba and all. We have to go into the market really to check that. It depends on which one is compatible with your system of equipment.
Right. Regarding the first one, beyond looking at the example, we have these patients of thrombocytopenias. In the ocean of ITP, you have to dissect out who are the patients who are not ITP. some of them are inherited thrombocytopenias and all, the morphology of the platelet, and then having the molecular data of the inherited platelet thrombocytopenias is able to help us in coming to the accurate diagnosis, and then its implication to the patient's health and other associated system abnormalities. So it's not just leukemias and malignancies. Even the benign disorders help us in the same way. Same thing about the spherocytes.
Yes.
As an undergraduate,
That's what I was about. Yeah, for the red cell morphology also. Yes, sir.
So as an undergraduate, spherocytes was spherocytic hemolytic anemia. And now you realize that spherocytes are so non-specific. And your molecular genetics comes to your rescue to label a person as, okay, this is hereditary spherocytosis, and the rest are not. Okay. Savitri Singh's question.
To talk good learning, help your experience in pediatric patient diagnosis, IT ratio, due to HLH in patient, infant PS with transient abnormal myelopathy, hemodilated picking fusions. Quite a lot we gather from cell culture graphs. Yeah, IT ratio. Okay, so question here is, I'm not understanding the question actually.
So one part is whether machine learning can help in diagnosis of pediatric HLH.
Right. Difficult to foresee this, to be very, very, very honest. Because
I can just put it this way, that as I mentioned about the plasmic score for TTP, HLH also has a scoring system. And if this scoring system is automated and the machine tells you whether this is there or not there, it is probably going to help you a lot. Because there are so many scoring systems available, it can be confusing. And so this scoring system, if they are automated, exactly like plasmic score, which was quoted in the ASH meeting, I think this is going to help. The TAM again is an example of cystocytes, and we discussed so much about cystocytes. And hemodilated sample, you have been talking all through abnormal cells.
So again, I think passing this through your morphology analyzers and trying to make sense out of it with very good basic quality ensured about the making of the smears and everything. So cell counter data as well as your morphological data, yes, probably you can get help on these fronts also.
A lot of interest generated by the audience.
Yes.
Question.
So this question, I think you asked, sir.
Those done ones, there is nothing left here. Vidisha.
Hi, ma'am. So just input from your cell counter morphology analyzer. How is it with very low WBC counts, less than 500, less than 200? I mean, do you see any, like, because that takes making up a Buffy coat and then counting it manually.
Yeah.
And
it helps. Yes. See, there is this QC which is applicable for this cell morphology analysis also. So you pass the QC slides and you decide how much this analyzer can perform, to what extent. But yes, in given situation, whenever the counts are given so low, we do expose those slides to the morphology analyzers and we do get the cell counter, the cell images. What has actually helped us is, the entire system getting connected. Like, for example, both the cell counter analyzers which are connected to the slide maker and stainer. Yeah. So that slide maker stainer has been given the instructions, algorithms as to how big or small the drop of blood should be based on the hemoglobin and other values. So smears are made very perfectly. So we are extremely happy with that. I was giving example again, typically during and all these Kharab patients, they would come in the night only. They would come late evening, night, early morning, whatever. So it becomes very crucial that the slide is made very perfectly and the staining is also good. So that if that is ensured, then these morphology analyzers, they help a lot. Definitely.
And ma'am, with patients with platelet clumps? What has been your experience?
They are picked up. Yeah, it's a great aid. I must agree with that.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Anjali.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. It was so refreshingly motivating, and I cannot describe the experience. It was very good.
Thank you so much.
We invite you to the Mumbai meeting so that we get exposed to it. And now this one, probably you have put it to the whole country and the whole globe virtually, because this meeting has audience from all over the world. Dr. Manoj, are you still there?
Yes, sir.
Can you deliver the vote of thanks?
Yeah, sure. With pleasure. First of all, an enriching and a very rewarding session, I must say, Dr. Anjali and Professor Agarwal sir. They were all useful and very, very practical. So thank you very much for bringing it to all of us. All the learned discussants and even those who ask questions. And I guess from the entire world, a great perspective on artificial intelligence, especially in lab hematology setting, will come in. Thank you and great day to all of you.
Thank you to Dr. Manoj.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks to Intas for helping us in conducting these. And thanks to the team from Kalpesh for managing this so beautifully without any flaw. So good day. Enjoy your...
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.